Big Zay.
Morning, Brad.
Morning, boys. What's going on?
Well, you're on the hottest story going. The Bears just can't be beaten now. They have turned the corner, and now we wonder what is sustainable and what isn't. We talk about, are they more likely to be able to play good offense than good defense, just given some of the injuries? Are they more likely to be able to sack the quarterback than get takeaways? How do you balance what they accomplished one week and how it changes going on the road to Las Vegas, Nevada?
Well, it's going to change from week to week. Can they play a good game at Las Vegas? Absolutely. Should they play a good game against the Raiders? I think so. Listen, the Raiders can't run block a JV team right now. So it's looking like Ashton Genty, the running back, who I believe they got 6th overall, isn't a good player. Now, we know he's got a world of talent. They can't run block. So they're falling behind in games, and so they're having to get in a drop-back passing game with Geno Smith chucking it all over the yard, and he's been pretty solid at that. But that's the test this week, because what's one of the things the Bears have really struggled with this season, it's stopping the run. I believe opponents are at 5.5 a clip right now. The Cowboys had success running the ball with Javonte Williams. Brian Schottenheimer temporarily lost thought of what he was doing when they had 3rd and goal at the 1, and he called a couple of pass plays in a row there. So that's the big thing I'm looking forward to right now when you talk about this matchup with the Raiders. Is can the Bears keep Las Vegas as an offense that's really struggling to run the football?
Got an update yesterday on Jalen Johnson undergoing surgery, maybe back this year. We got an update from Adam Schefter about Colston Loveland, expected back this week. TJ Edwards, Kyler Gordon, those are key guys. I wonder what this week will bring in terms of their availability. Brad, any insight after hearing Ben Johnson speak?
No, not really. I think they will be limited when they return to the practice field. They're going to try to ramp them up. You'd wonder if when they get to a game, there'll be some type of snap count. I know they're optimistic that both of those players will be back soon. I think the question is whether or not soon is defined as Sunday or after the bye, which would be at Washington. So, but it'll be soon. Otherwise, they would have landed on IR, and they can use all the help they can get right now, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Brad, when you think about, when you go back and watch the game and you think about the dominance that the Bears showed at different points that game, there were a couple of plays, a couple of moments that kind of turned the game. What stood out to you? How important was it that they got the ball with the first takeaway? How important was it that they limited Dallas to a field goal at that point in the game? I'm just wondering how fragile they are in terms of the psychology of their play.
Yeah, I'd say I don't know that the Bears are super fragile because it's a new. Everything's new. Like, this isn't the 4th week of a make or break year for a coaching staff where, things are kind of teetering on the balance here. But what they've got to do is they've got to learn how to win football games. Listen, the Tyreek Stevenson play was huge, though. Huge, because that was a big run that put Dallas on the edge of the red zone. I think the takeaway was like at the 28-yard line. And it was an explosive play on the second snap for Dallas. So you're looking at him as he goes around left end, and starts rumbling down the sideline, and you say, well, here we go again, because it was a big play bonanza the week previously in Detroit, and this was a big play. And Tyreek, who was behind the play, runs up, kind of catches the guy and rips the ball out of his clutches, and that was huge. And then he had another really big play a couple series later, 1 or 2 series later, where he gets a PBU on a 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8 pass to George Pickens on a slant that forces the Cowboys to kick a field goal. So kind of a tone setter or an energizer for him early in the game was a cornerback who played very poorly at Detroit and didn't cover himself in any glory in the opener against the Vikings as well.
What can that do for a player like that? What can that do for a guy who is so much fueled by confidence, and you know that it's so important for that position? I think Dennis Allen helped him out a lot. They played a lot more zone, and they did the shell with playing 2 deep safeties about 70% of the time, Brad. So you help things when you call games like that. But as far as Tyreek Stevenson, the player, big year for him. This was a big game. Did it turn his season around?
We've seen entirely too much up and down from Tyreek Stevenson to this point to jump to the conclusion that this game is going to be a springboard toward his return. Like, you got some players that are going to the airport and they've got their carry-on luggage, right? And they don't check any bags and they zip right through. Well, Tyreek's showing up with like 8 suitcases he's got to check. He's got a lot of baggage, and he doesn't really have any with the new coaching staff, but as a player with the Bears, there's just been a lot of up and down. If this is the first in a string of games, then I think there's a important conversation that needs to be had, and it'll be a guy who is starting to figure it out, what it takes to play at a consistent level week in and week out, to prepare at a consistent level week in and week out. But you got to see it, because everybody's seen the flashes. This is a guy who's got good size. He's got outstanding length. He's physical. Everybody's seen that. What they haven't seen is him, string together 5-6 games in a row. So that's the challenge, and it's a really big one, I think, when you consider what we've seen from him to this point.
Yeah, I liked hearing him at the podium. I thought it was fun. It's great for him, because most of the times you've heard from him been more kind of apologies and things like that. I wonder, the other guy in that game, Tremaine Edmonds, had a lot of tackles in that game. He had 2 picks, and you saw the athletic ability that he has. When they signed him here, when he was drafted in Buffalo, he had all these physical skills. He's still a relatively young guy. And you wonder, is he going to grow into the game now? Getting a couple of picks, new for him, making all those tackles. It feels like if his athletic ability, if he catches up to that, he could be a very impactful player. And we finally saw it in the game. And again, we're asking this about anybody that flashed. Are they sustainable? But with his physical ability, you wonder if he is.
Yeah, well, he's so freaky because he's a really big, long human being that can move well, and there were a ton of plays to be made there at the linebacker position. I think Noah Sewell had 11 tackles. Between the two of them, they piled up 26 tackles because it was check down city for Dak Prescott. I think I mentioned it yesterday. The tight end Jake Ferguson,
Yes.
and the running backs Williams and Sanders combined for 22 of Dallas's 34 completed passes. And the majority of those were, after Dak turned down his first and second read. So the plays were there for Edmonds. Yeah, I think what you've been hoping to see more for him previously with the Bears is splash plays, right? Those impact, game-changing type plays, which the defense by and large is missed. But he's such a big guy who moves well. I think when you looked at one of the very few things they did well defensively last year, it was red zone defense. And I'd say Edmonds was one of the reasons why. He's a difficult guy to throw around and made some really athletic plays against Dallas. And the Bears will be better off when T.J. Edwards is back in the mix as well.
Brad, always enjoy your 10 thoughts in ChicagoTribune.com. It's a must-read for any Bears fan. What was the context that you quoted Don Johnson, Ben's dad, about the difference between trick plays and gadgets, and why he didn't not necessarily appreciate the term trick play because it implies something that isn't true? Yeah,
I mean, I had a long visit with Ben's parents back in February after the Bears hired him, and if anybody had watched a good number of Lions games over the past couple of years, you're kind of struck by the exotic plays that they have run, and they ran a couple last night in that game in Baltimore. But so got into a conversation with Don about that, and he did not like the term trick plays. He's like, as a former coach himself, Don's point was that every decision you make in terms of play calling is calculated, that it's a call that's based on a tendency or a weakness that the defense has shown. And so he did not appreciate the term trick play. So you call it gadgets if you have to, but his point that every call is very strategic in terms of stuff that you've picked up regarding the opponent based on, a ton of film study, like, hey, here's a weakness that can be exposed if we show them one thing and do another thing. That Ben very much believes in the same thing. So whether it's, Penei Sewell going in motion and catching a pass, or heck, he was going to attempt a pass against the Bears before they defended it, or the stumble bum or a flea flicker. I think the flea flicker was the first of many that we'll get a chance to see. But you remember the divisional round playoff game against Washington? That was an absolute shootout. The Commanders were up like 38-28, early fourth quarter. Detroit's got the ball midfield, and he calls for Jamison Williams to throw a pass, and Jamison's picked off. Washington takes over, drives down, tacks on another touchdown. All of a sudden, it's 45-28. Lions lose the game. Lions season over. I said, hey, you had to regret that one, right? Like calling them Jamison Williams to throw a pass in that situation when you've got one of the very best quarterbacks in the league. He was putting together pretty good numbers, and he's like, no, not at all. That he's going to make a bunch of play calls that don't work, and it's a situation where he should have coached up the players better, specifically on that play.
Brad, we've heard a lot of the buy-in. That's an expression used, buy-in. So obviously, you can't get much buy-in in first two games of the season where you lose and you fall apart in the fourth quarter and you're never in the game in Detroit. Now you come back and you win a game. And I would imagine that there are a lot of what they were talking about, a lot of what they were teaching, maybe specifically with the quarterback, you saw in that game. You saw him getting rid of the ball. You saw him in a clean pocket. And does that aid the buy-in? Does that make the Bears get better? You know how confidence is created through victory. Is buy-in created the same way? Do you feel like this team sees a little success? If they could get 2 games in a row, who knows? With the bye week coming up and all that, how important is this game for that reason?
Your buy-in's going to be critical because of the way the players kind of rallied around the staff when they arrived. I don't think that that's something that's been in question, but you've got to go out and, to your point, you've got to have success to sort of confirm it and validate it, right? If they could get back to 500, that would be a nice boost for them going into the bye. And really, you look at it, and before the season started, I think 2-2 was realistic for maybe where they could be. I certainly wouldn't have picked them to be 3-1. Looking at this collection of opponents through week 4, so it's a big step for them. But they've got to continually improve, and that's everyone. That's not just the quarterback. He gets most of the discussion, but they've got to get better on defense. Like, let's not pretend like their issues facing that defense have been resolved, okay? Because they had a good game against the Dallas Cowboys. Like, there are ongoing issues for that defense that they're going to have to prove to you over a longer period of time than 4 quarters of football, that they've got their stuff cleaned up on that side of the ball. The offensive line played a very good game. It's going to have to do that over the course of a longer period of time for you to feel more comfortable in what's going on there. Both things can be true. They played really well, and they've got to do more of it on a consistent basis to really make you believe.
Did it strike you as something to pay attention to, or did it resonate with you that Ben Johnson began his Monday press conference, and as you say, nothing with Ben Johnson isn't calculated, that he referred to them as road underdogs already?
Oh, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing, Brad. Like, traditionally, you get 3 if you're at home. And if think about their 2 point, I know it's changed.
Talk about Guy Fortenbaugh. That's dropped.
But
that's no longer.
But I'm saying they're almost like a point.
But he made a point
to
mention that they're road underdogs at the time that he spoke, and I just wonder, for a coach who had last week challenged his players, this week comes out talking about road underdogs.
Yeah, he's a motivation guy. Yeah.
But I think he also said yesterday, like, I don't really say anything to the.
Every coach says that. I don't try to talk to the
players through the media, right?
Every coach says that.
And every coach does it.
Okay, well.
Every coach does that.
Yeah.
Come on, Ben. Come on, Brad.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Like, I think he's got more sophisticated manners in which he can reach his players than what the line is, and I think they're favored now. Like, the original number that was hung was Raiders -1.5 or -2, excuse me, according to friend of the program, Joe Fortenbaugh.
Yes,
and it may have flipped. It drove Bears fans bonkers on Twitter that the Raiders were favored. And it's like, no, this isn't an opinion. This is the number that they put out there.
Tell Ben.
Well, if it's a false line, then I think definitely pound the Raiders.
I think Ben's a smart enough math guy to figure that out.
Yes,
but
he knows all the formulas.
Yeah, like how many teams should the Bears be favored against on the road right now?
Different question.
Like, let's be real.
Real talk.
Real talk.